For those of you who are not aware, we did not just come back from a trip into the heart of a new continent. This, in fact, is the entrance music of one formerly known as Kamala, James Harris. Some of you weren't alive when Kamala was wrestling. Maybe you've seen one or two matches, maybe you saw him on the indies, maybe you saw some old stuff on the network, but there was something different about characters back then, like a George the Animal Steel, like Kamala, where racial implications of this gimmick aside, say it was a taming of the beast kind of story. Somebody that's rough around the edges, doesn't understand society, gets brought into society. It's kind of like Tarzan in a way, where the family found Tarzan. Friday, or Kimchi, or whomever it might be, was the one that discovered Kamala, and that's how he was introduced. Obviously, they didn't go all the way to Africa. They, the first few vignettes for Kamala were taking place in, I believe it was Jerry Lawler's backyard. And there was just like a swamp or a lake or some sort of body of water back there where they could like peek him out. And they used to use this for all kinds of other gimmicks, but they did it for Kamala, and that was like a well-known introduction from Memphis. So, going through the territory days and then going on the television, Kamala was a big, he was a big part of it. And in a time where there wasn't a lot of African American representation necessarily, obviously, I mean, you had your Bobo Brazils and similar, but Kamala was one of them. He was not just a notable character. He was part of that set of legends, the golden era of wrestling. You think of Macho and Ricky Steamboat and Big John Studd and all kinds of things. You don't go messing with a country boy and you listen to your Pile Driver albums and you're a jive soul bro. Well, then you knew all about Kamala too, and you know that he could. He learned to bowl.
Well, yeah, he did.
He had there were a bunch of wonderful segments with Kamala. So unfortunately, James Harris, aka Kamala, passed away and had been undergoing a number of health problems. Lost some appendages to diabetes, was in a wheelchair.
He lost both of his legs.
Yeah, it's just it's really unfortunate. And then to top things off, because he's an older person who was susceptible to it, of course he caught coronavirus and passed away due to complications of coronavirus and all of the other things that come with that territory of just being someone who is like an immunocompromised person in this time. So,
Hi.
Yeah, right? Yeah, it's not just, you don't have to be in a wheelchair or be, outwardly physically ill to be an immunocompromised person. Cat, like Roman Reigns, like Kevin Owens. There are people out there that are just susceptible to this stuff.
Daniel Bryan.
Yeah, and it is what it is. I thought I turned that air conditioner off. Oh well, I'll turn it off in a second. But it's something to think about with your older relatives and older. Kamala couldn't wrestle, he couldn't get around well. He didn't have a whole heck of a lot of money. Unfortunately, those guys in that era, some guys made a lot of money, some guys didn't. Some of them that made a lot of money spent it the wrong way and didn't have the savings and all that stuff. So Kamala was a very big part of a certain decade or certain era of wrestling. And it is a loss. You know, you lose someone like that. It's losing a puzzle piece of that whole era. So it's just.
I mean, you just think about it too, like the amount of top guys that he performed with. You know, whether it was Taker, Hogan. You know, these were the big names back then. So, you know, he was very under. You know.
He was, you know, it was a memorable character, and he always looked, you know, I saw some pictures of him every so often. You know, I looked because there were so many people posting. I said, wait, well, what is he doing? He always looks surprised in the pictures. But then I realized, like, he was basing the way that he looked off of, like, when National Geographic would go somewhere and, like, photograph a tribe that had never been photographed before.
Yeah.
They would look at people. They didn't know what that camera was, so he was, like, reacting like somebody who didn't know what a camera was or didn't know what a flash was.
Yeah.
You know, him and there was a match that I saw earlier today online against George the Animal Steel, and these are two guys that they didn't really use words, and it was all character work and sounds and the expressions they made, and they had this crowd in the palms of their hands just from being a larger than life character. One of them would look and pose like this, and the other one would look and like stick their tongue out and like,
and it would be green.
And the people lost their minds. And now,
what was like a freaking college professor?
Yeah.
George Animal Steel was a smart guy.
Yep.
He was actually a teacher
Yeah.
when he retired.
But it's
like,
amazing.
like, picture in 1992, like, so Kat and Steve and I were about like 12 at the time. So we're like, you know, we thought like he was legit a threat to the Undertaker. At the, you know, like, until he started, you know, he started building the casket, but you know,
The Kamala casket? Oh, with the
Yes.
star? Oh, man.
that was the first one that Taker built,
Yes, yeah, that was the first one.
and it was weird. It was, you know, and shit. I mean, he was fairly fat. He was fairly fast, you know, for a big guy. Like he could jump off the top rope.
Yep.
Splashes and stuff.
Frog splashes. Yep.
Yeah,
350-pound guy, you know.
one of the pictures that they people are sharing a lot is him. He whipped Hogan into the ropes, and Hogan ducked down, and Kamala did a leapfrog. So you got this picture of Kamala jumping over Hulk Hogan. Like, holy shit, this guy could really move.
Yeah, it's a shame. Shame what happened to him later in life.
Yeah, and he, you know, he's one of those guys that definitely deserved a more fair shake of things. And I know he got paid. You know, he always kind of had issues where because he was never the top guy,
He
the
didn't
guy
get paid
he
like a
worked
tough
with
guy.
made the money, and he didn't.
Yeah, but he was always credible enough to do main events with Hogan or Taker or something.
Oh yeah, he was always a credible enough monster, and then, but it was always, you know, to put somebody else over eventually.
I'm gonna do it notwithstanding, but you know.
He was just unfortunately, never the top guy of you know.
But you know, here was some other interesting stuff, because we all knew Kamala, the wrestler that we grew up watching. So like, you know how like you kind of always go to try and get the history of the wrestler and everything? This guy, like, it was like he dropped out of school, was in trouble. He was like a burglar and everything. His parents kicked him out of his house when he was like, what is it? He left high school in the 9th grade and became a habitual burglar. The local police suggested he leave town. Back then, if you didn't leave, like they said, then you would be found dead somewhere.
Pretty much.
So he moved. So he moved to Florida and met Bobo Brazil. That's how he even got in the business. So this guy had like a tragic upbringing as a child. Got this whole life and everything. It's just sad all the way around, because like, you know, we don't always know what happened to these wrestlers, like, you know, before they came into the picture and everything like that. The original even storyline that they set for him was that he was supposed to be, they found him after Idi Amin was no longer the head dictator in Uganda. He was supposed to be the head of Amin's security. Yeah, that was the original premise of how they were going to characterize him in the WWF. Can you imagine? Glad they didn't do that. But but yeah, so that's how the Ugandan warrior came from, because he was originally part of a security team.
I'll tell you what though, if you want to laugh, there's an interview with Mean Gene where he completely breaks kayfabe.
Oh, that was I just
Yes.
saw that today.
Mhm.
Yeah.
in his regular Southern kind of accent. It's hysterical.
Mm-hmm.
He's so, but it was, that thing was so funny because Mean Gene, he's always such a on the level kind of guy, a very even keeled broadcaster, and all of a sudden you're going, well, Mean Gene Oakland here with Kamala and Friday. Kamala, we want to know why you skipped out on your interviews in St. Louis last week. What the fuck were you doing? Like, and he's making fun of Kamala, and at first Kamala's trying to like hold it in, and he just breaks character, and eventually the funniest way to acknowledge this as Kamala that he can think to do is go, well, I never learned to read or speak English, so I did. And that was his response in perfect English. He goes, I never learned to read or speak English. Oh, and then Mean Gene goes, well, what were you doing somewhere in whatever it was, Illinois? He goes, and Kamala goes, little fucky.
Oh no.
Yeah, like, of course, and then everybody just loses it. But the way he says it is like, again, somebody who doesn't really know the language trying to use an expression. He goes, little fucky.
Oh my god.
So funny.
That is fantastic.
Great. Yeah, there's a whole bunch of, there's like a longer clip of it with more wrestlers, but there's one specific part of it that's like 2 minutes long. It's Mean Gene outtakes. If you look them up on YouTube, Mean Gene outtakes with Friday and Kamala.
Oh my god.
great.
And I didn't know this either. His first manager actually was Percy Pringle.
Yes.
Wow.
Yeah, Percy Pringle. That's right. Shit.
Yeah, Sugar Bear Harris in 1978. So his original manager was Paul Heyman before Kimchi and Harvey Whippleman and
Bear.
Slick. Yeah.
Oh, Bear.
What did I say? Paul Heyman. Oops, my bad.
Ladies and gentlemen, my client Kamala. Get the darkest
I'll tell you what
Uganda.
though, Paul Heyman can get Kamala fucking over as a legit world champion, man.
He doesn't just eat chicken bones, he'll eat your bones. The reigning, defending, undisputed Kamala.
And of course,
Wow. You guys are
whole thing,
you guys are never gonna let me live that one down now.
Oh,
Okay.
that would be so. But I would be so. Like, if Paul Heyman, as Paulie Dangerously, brought Kamala into ECW.
Oh God, here comes the York Foundation again.
Yeah,
Oh, dangerously.
he could have brought him in.
Yeah.
Or like he could have been.
Well, he could have been like a new Taz kind of thing, like the way Taz used to be the Taz Maniac and then became
Yeah,
like his
that's
dad.
true.
Just give him the glasses and he could be one of the long lost Dudleys, like they did with the Bushwhackers. They just made him like Luke and Bo or whatever Dudley, and they just came out with the glasses and the tie-dye and they did the thing. But it was just, the gimmick was they were part of the Dudley family. So Kamala Dudley with the glasses on and the paint with the glass and like a little tie-dye loincloth. That would have been ECW Kamala as part of the Dudleys.
That would have been great.
Then Joel Gertner could have done all the talking.
Yeah.
Well. Just think of all the awful things Joel Gertner would have said as the manager for Kamala. All of
So
those-
see, my screw up just made a whole new storyline. Okay, there we go.
Absolutely.
Now I feel better.
Much worse than the Jim Cornette Ethiopia joke.
Oh my god. That was
Much worse.
he dusted that one off. Like that joke was
That's
dead and
old.
buried for like 50 years, and he brought it out as an hacky old joke book, and people didn't like it.
And then said goodbye to the NWA.
And then the NWA almost said goodbye to the NWA, but I don't know if you've heard, since I guess we can transition to talk about wrestling news now. The NWA has partnered with, I forget the name of the streaming service, but they're going to start doing weekly pay-per-view events. So weekly live streams, but you pay a monthly fee or a per episode fee
Like the
to
way
access
TNA
the
used to do it back in the day.
Exactly. So they're trying to do that, except modernize it, because It's not going to be on like a cable. I don't think you're going to be able to order it through pay-per-view on your cable. It's going to be pay-per-view on a streaming service. So I don't know. I guess we'll see what happens.
So I want to kind of shift gears.
Yeah.
So I want to talk about something. I want to see. Let's have this conversation out now. A lot of you watched Raw before me. I read some of the comments. Even going back the week before. And I was hearing another Brawl for All, this and that. I said, oh shit, here we go with this Raw Underground bullshit. Now, I'm still on the fence. I don't know how I feel about it. I've watched it now 2 weeks in a row. To me, I don't know. I'm on the fence. It's not Brawl for All. It's definitely a different concept. I give them credit for trying to come up with something else. I have a feeling Brock Lesnar's going to show up there, obviously.
I feel like it's Lucha Underground. Like, that's part of what they took from
Lucha Underground / like Fight Club. I mean,
yeah.
But I don't know. How are we feeling about it?
It's better than the Retribution angle, I'll tell you that.
Yeah, that's my only comment is that it's slightly better than Retribution.
Like
I'm going to be very disappointed if Dijak is in Retribution because I'm so disappointed with this entire fucking thing right now.
Well, in order for Dijak to be the leader of that group, they need to get about 3 of them to stand on each other's shoulders and wear a big fucking trench coat. There's no way any of those guys are Dijak unless they ate the goddamn Mario mushroom.
Well,
this week and
but
next week.
if he's the leader, then maybe he sent them. He didn't have to be there.
Away with the whole
Right.
Aces and Eights thing.
Well, the whole truth will be revealed. Maybe he's been the guy behind the computer the whole time.
Yes, noted computer hacker Donovan Dijak.
I mean,
But
Just a comical suggestion, Stu.
let's bring back GTV while we're at it.
Oh, God.
Have it kind of come full circle,
Yeah, I mean, I don't know who could be GTV now. It was supposed to be Gold Dust, and then they never followed through with it, so I don't know who they picked as the new GTV outlet. The thing is, though, to kind of draw a similarity, GTV was something that WWE tried at the time, the WWF, as like an edgy, different kind of, this is like a real world, we're going to put cameras everywhere thing, kind of adapting, what they knew of what was reality TV back then to wrestling, and integrate more of that. While it's not exactly the same, the idea or the concept is that they wanted to present something different, and they presented it visually different. The camera was set up like a security camera or like a hidden camera. It was up somewhere weird, so it looked like if you were in the bathroom when, the Big Show pulled out his tiny pee-pee, and then Val Venus goes, I thought they called you, they call you the Big Show? You've got a tiny cock, buddy. Yeah, and he just goes, hello, Big Show. You've got a tiny pee-pee. And then they cut away to a commercial, but it was black and white. It had the GTV logo. It was like it cut in like it was an illegal feed. Raw Underground looks like Raw. It has the same camera quality. It's the same cameras, the same angles. It's just that they're doing it in this Fight Club setting. They could really what if they filmed it on iPhones? What if they filmed it on cameras that had that were, had more of a depth of field where the people are crisp in focus, and then everything that's in the background is more blurry, and it's more like a movie, like Fight Club was, where it was focused on the action, not necessarily the shit in the background. Make it more cinematic. More cinematic.
Or do like a Blair Witch kind of camera.
Right, so, you're right. It's handheld stuff, and you cut from one. Here's what they should have done, honestly. I know they were trying to push. This was something they thought of literally an hour before the show started and wrote it in. So they didn't have time to do all this. But it should have started with a couple NXT people or a couple people from the main roster, undercard guys, go on Twitter. Oh, look, I got this weird invite in the mail to show up at whatever for a wrestling tournament or something. and then like, you know, people posting pictures on Instagram, like leaking pictures and like leaking little video clips. There's the underground. Well, what's the underground? Oh, did you get an invite? Oh, I didn't get an invite. And post shit online like that, and then start letting people into like a Zoom meeting where they could watch a live stream of the Raw Underground, and it looks like an MMA fight. It looks like somebody's just broadcasting it from their phone illegally, like they're pirating it or something, and like build the hype up that way, and like make people want to get invites to a Zoom meeting to watch the Raw Underground.
See, that would be brilliant.
Because then it's actually underground. There's nothing underground about something that's on Raw. It's owned by Shane McMahon. It's the same shit. There's nothing underground about it.
Yep.
What I do like is that there's that door and then the tall ninja.
Tunde, right? Is that
At the end of the day, you have to look at it not so much. You have to just look at it as the fact that they're trying. They're trying to come up with something a little different. I think part of me feels like it almost shows even. I don't know. I'm so.
There's definitely potential. That's the thing. There's definitely potential there. But I don't know if they have to kind of make some corrections to it. Like this retribution thing, and we'll get to that too. I think that shit stinks. And I know, wrestling fans say they want long-term storylines, and then they give up on something after a couple weeks. Well, sorry, it doesn't have anything to do with not wanting a long-term story. I want a long-term story.
Don't make the storyline shitty.
Right, don't make it, four midgets and some girl tip over a car. And then did you see the video? They threw the cinder block through the window and broke the window. And then another person with a second cinder block just threw theirs through the exact, like they didn't even break another window. They just threw it through the same empty spot.
Yep.
Yeah.
Like, guys, what are we doing here? If we're breaking shit, we're breaking
I
shit.
tell you what, they did something smart by having the guy that came up to them being even smaller. Because they probably noticed that was a big problem from the previous week. So they're like, we're gonna make these guys look bigger.
But here's the thing. They're not filming live.
Yeah.
They're taping the shit. So
Right,
you can't tell me that editors and producers don't see this stuff and make the corrections before it goes to air. You can't tell me that people, if we can, I mean, yeah, we're a little obsessive compulsive because, we're diehards, but thank you, Bray Wyatt, we're here. But, come on, somebody's got to notice the shit besides just us.
Yeah, I think, and the thing is, I really didn't think about this because I forgot about how wrestling production has changed over the last 6 months. I was listening to a podcast, I think it was Brian Alvarez earlier today, who said these 5 people are like rioting through the WWE Performance Center, where 200 wrestlers are employed and trained every day, and there's wrestlers sitting in the crowd. What's stopping the 200 wrestlers that are employed from just beating the shit out of these 5 people?
Yep.
There's 5 of them. Oh, they have a chainsaw. They cut the ring. They cut the cheapest part of the ring. They cut the ring ropes. Oh no, we can't have a show now. You cut our ring ropes. I can't possibly go to Home Depot and replace them. What the fuck? Like, that's why it didn't work. When Nexus came in, they choked out Justin Roberts. They hit Bret Hart with a fucking car. They caused chaos. When the NWO came in, Kevin Nash took Rey Mysterio and threw him like a lawn dart. They beat up Lex Luger and Macho Man. They told the fans to stick it, dude. You know what I mean? Like, there was an impact when they came in. DX, as goofy as they were, they did shit like that. Stone Cold ran people over with monster trucks and shit and sprayed beer on them. These guys, I don't know. They dressed like ninjas.
Yeah, I thought they were Tozawa's ninjas.
Well, that's the other problem. They are dressed like another group of characters that's already on the show. Why have 2 sets of ninjas? At least.
Well, the reason why they're keeping them covered up is because I don't think they still actually know where this is going and who's going to be in it.
But we can do different kinds of all right, so I've heard the comparison, but this is, Retribution is what Vince McMahon thinks Antifa is.
Oh my God.
So, But if that's the case, then they don't have to dress like ninjas. They can dress like Antifa people with like the face coverings that they use, like the bandanas and shit to cover their, like, dress up like, if it's gonna be Antifa, dress them up like Antifa. But there's the confusion between Tozawa's Ninjas, which is a comedy act that's bordering on being super racist and not meant to be taken seriously, versus Retribution is being taken, you know, supposed to be taken seriously. They're two goofy groups in all black. Like, they have to be differentiated somehow, or else it's really not.
And another problem is that they like freaking like announced the group name of this group. They don't even show up.
Oh, we're gonna debut a new group. They didn't say the new group was going to be on TV for 30 seconds, cutting the power to our building, and then that's all you get. And
Yeah,
don't even tell you the name.
It would have been received a little better, I think.
Right. It's about setting. This is a customer service experience, and everything boils down to customer service. It's about setting expectations. When you set the expectation with your customer as the product of a television program, your customers, the viewers, you're setting the expectation when you say a new group or faction is debuting. They usually have a name. They usually have a face. They usually have, you know, there are things that you expect when you say a new group debuts. Even if it's a secretive group, they usually do something a little more major than cut the power and make a couple fireworks go off outside of your building. It just didn't have the impact of what when a wrestling fan thinks of a debut, that's not what you think of. And that's why it didn't work.
It's like
It's like the Portland protests, basically. That's what Vince McMahon thinks the Portland protests are, I guess.
It's like Jackass as ninjas.
It kind of is.
That's good.
Well, you saw. Okay, so after SmackDown last week, when they cut the ring ropes and chased the women around, because you know that'll get you over. Oh, we scared a bunch of women. They did that, and then they cut the ring ropes, and then all five of them stood in the ring and did like Fortnite dances, basically, when they were celebrating. And there was a screenshot, and somebody says, the caption said, "When Mom says the pizza rolls are ready." And it's all these four short guys dancing. And I'm like, oh shit, it's dead. As soon as I saw that, I'm like, it's dead. You can't come back from that.
Yeah,
I can't think your little kids are celebrating because the pizza rolls are ready.
Their heads barely got over the
It's
Meanwhile, you got guys like Big Show that can fucking climb over the top rope.
I asked on one of the Facebook groups if it was Torito and Super Porky. Did we bring back the Minis division?
Yeah, Masquerita Sagrada.
Yeah, where's Octagoncito? Like, we need these
The
guys.
Macho Mission. Women are like, I think, like they said, Vanessa Bourne and Chelsea Green or something.
Yeah, somebody thought one of them might
That's
have
nothing weird.
I don't know. Like, that's the thing. It's
Come to think of it, we haven't been on that for a while.
I don't think either one of them is tall enough, the girls that'll be Chelsea Green.
yeah, but it's a mystery. That
Oh, yeah,
nobody
that's
gives a
true.
shit. Like who shot JR on that? I know, kids, go Google it. Not JR Jim Ross. Who shot JR Ewing? That was a big deal. There was a big cliffhanger. For months and months, people speculated between the end of one season of Dallas and the beginning of another season of Dallas. Who
Kristen
was the
Shepard, by the way.
Yeah, spoiler. and then you know, and then what was it? Maggie Simpson shot Mr. Burns. Spoiler. So that was based on that. But that's those are like mysteries that people anticipated and wanted to solve. We're talking about the water treatment. Not once, aside from having to have a discussion for the show, half an hour in, not once in our Facebook group chat since this Retribution thing started, not one of us have said, "Oh man, I wonder who those guys are going to be." Like, oh
Nope.
man, I can't wait until they take their masks off. It's going to be, you know,
Aces and Aces look like the Four Horsemen.
it's going to be Zema Ion with a new stupid name. or whatever the fuck. Like at this point, I can't get excited about it. It's just,
Wait a
it
minute,
is what
though.
it is.
I just thought of something really, really stupid. It may not be that stupid, but no, because you just said something. None of us have asked about it, and we're naming all these ridiculous people. What if they're called retribution because these are people that got fired at the beginning of this COVID thing?
Yeah, it could be. I mean, that's another thing that somebody said was a
Well, who's
possibility.
that hasn't signed with other promotions, though?
Sarah Logan.
Yeah, but she's pregnant.
Touche. She ain't doing nothing. She's not taking any bumps or anything.
Yeah, that's true.
She threw a freaking cinder block. Big fucking
And she's a
deal.
member of the Riot Squad.
Yeah, a pregnant woman can throw a Molotov cocktail just fine, I guess.
But, Heath Slater had the little bullshit free agent thing.
Yeah.
There were a couple, and not for nothing, some of them are cheesy enough to do this stupid shit.
Well, listen, if you don't have a job anymore and they call you back and say, "Do you want a job?" I don't think you ask, "Hey, am I going to dress up like a ninja asshole on television?" You
Hell,
don't get that far.
it could be
You just
Mike
take the
Fiona
paycheck.
for all we know.
Yeah, I mean, I've heard rumors of like
It's Lance Storm.
Cedric. I've heard Mustafa Ali. I've heard Bo Dallas.
That
Yeah.
would be, Lance Storm, that would be serious for a moment.
All right, so let's keep it moving because there's another, in my opinion, the best storyline that's going on in the WWE, which is The Fiend and Alexa Bliss and Braun Strowman.
Oh man, I guess I gotta catch up on SmackDown. I can't be brought to care about this. I just can't.
Really?
I'm enjoying it, man. It's fucking awesome. It's The Fiend, so and it's Alexa Bliss. I mean, Braun's becoming the monster again. Alexa Bliss is rubbing Fiend's face.
That's the weird. So, all right, follow me here. It's just as somebody who's only seen clips of this stuff.
You're supposed to be confused right now. Let me just say.
Okay. Well, so I feel like it's definitely there's confusion because and it's intentional because 1 week, the Fiend sexually assaults Alexa Bliss in the face, and then the next week, she's caressing his face like the girl from Phantom of the Opera or Beauty and the Beast or something. So.
Taylor's all the time.
Did the Fiend do a Mike Tyson? Did he rape her until he loved her? Until she loved him? Or like what happened?
Yeah.
Like
She's not Robin Givens.
yeah, well here's the thing. And I hate to be that guy, she didn't say no. Not once when the Fiend was sticking his fingers down her face did she say, because usually in a horror movie.
What the hell is she supposed to say?
Well, I mean, listen, if you're in a horror movie and Freddy Krueger pops out, you're like, oh my god, no, help me. She sat there and she's like, yes, please enter my face with your fingers. And then the next week she's feeling them up. And then Braun Strowman, who we've established with Team Little Big, has this like connection with Alexa Bliss, and they work together as a pair. And they have their personalities mentioned pretty well. All of a sudden, he's like, I don't give a shit about that short blonde bitch. I just want to beat you up, the Fiend.
Well, because
Like,
now it's being perceived that since the Swamp, he's turning heel, and
the
it
little
sounds
Dinky Dunk in the
and
lake
it sounds
of
and
resurrection.
it sounds like the Fiend is going to put together some kind of new faction, and I'm thinking maybe including Bliss. Listen, if her being attacked from the Fiend brought out, and who knows, maybe she is going to be Sister Abigail. I don't know.
Right.
There's
Like,
ways.
Every internet nerd, it finally happened. We've been waiting for 6
Yeah, well,
years.
well,
She's finally Sister Abigail. Oh my god.
It could be something cool where, like, it's been like, it was always Alexa all along, and they just, like, but it's been, like, laid dormant in her, until the team brought it out of her or something.
Yeah, I mean, somebody was saying AB, Abigail, Alexa Bliss, AB, maybe
Well,
AB. Hey.
To go back to your thing that she got
she got penetrated in the face.
No, but look at it this way. Every single male opponent that the Fiend has had has sat there in that fear.
Yeah, and
What
it
the
also, it
fuck
also
is Tiny
changed,
Little Bliss supposed to do?
and it did change them every
Yeah.
time something like that happens. So listen, it's consistent.
Yeah,
But
it changed Finn Balor all the way back to NXT.
And this really, I mean, they even mentioned it they even mentioned this on Raw. I didn't watch Raw last night. I understood, but from what I can tell, they're actually acknowledging that the Fiend, the Fiend thing was responsible for Seth Rollins being what he is now. So at least they're kind of acknowledging that, and not just ignoring it.
Well, they've kind of been saying all along that everyone that the Fiend beats changes somehow. You know what I mean? So they're sticking with that whole thing, which is good because at least you're sticking to one thing. You know, you're not.
Yeah.
Oh.
I don't know what they're gonna do now because they already blew their load with a cinematic match against these two guys, so you can't just go and do another cinematic match.
Right, what's their SummerSlam match?
Right, now they've just got to have a regular old wrestling match. So, but usually it's the other way around. You build towards the big weird match. They started with the big weird match. Now we're gonna go back to a wrestling.
But that's because of the COVID thing again. They got to do something every time to get some form of something to make everybody want to watch.
Alexa Bliss in a shark cage above the ring.
Yeah, because they haven't.
They haven't
But
used the
that
shark
hasn't
cage.
been-
yet.
I kind
Alexa
of want
Bliss
to.
on a forklift, bro.
I kind of want to see Bliss come out with like a female version of the Fiend mask.
Oh, that would be amazing.
You know what I mean, or something like that.
Done the Freddy Krueger and cosplay and like the what do you call it?
Harley Quinn.
The
She's
Quinn
done all-
thing,
Yeah.
you know.
Now
You
here's-
agreed twice on something this week. What the hell?
I know. Some in the water.
So I know this is. So this is kind of outside of.
It's got to be the
box
New
here.
York thing.
But yeah, it's like bagels. It's whatever the water is that makes the bagels and the pizza so good. It's the same thing. This is horror movie based, obviously. Bray Wyatt's a big horror movie fan. In the Jason, the Friday the 13th movies, there is this. There was one of the movies I want to say it was 4, Jason 4 maybe, or Jason Goes to Hell. I don't remember the exact one.
With
But
Corey
there was-
Feldman or without Corey Feldman?
I think it was the last one with Corey Feldman. It was the one where the girl put on Mrs. Voorhees' sweater. And because
4.
she put... Okay, it was 4. When she put on the sweater,
That's really pathetic, but okay.
Jason... see, we knew. Jason thought it was his mother and was, like, under her control, basically. Like, he listened to her. It was a
You
distraction.
did it. Your mother is pleased. You did very good, Jason.
So they can go either way with this. Obviously, they can position it where Alexa Bliss is the bad Sister Abigail, whatever. But what if it's all? What if it turns out that this is a way that Alexa Bliss is kind of lulling the Fiend into a false sense of security, and when he least expects it, he thinks she's gonna, there's gonna be a point where she gets involved in a match or whatever, and the Fiend is gonna be like, go ahead,
I
go get
kind of
him.
hope they don't go that way.
Yeah.
I want her to be, with the Fiend. Like I like that idea. It kind of changes her a little bit, gives her something
Yeah.
fresh.
Yeah.
I wonder how JoJo feels about that.
But I just, I don't know. They can.
Listen, at the end of the day, we're at the mercy of the wonderful WWE writing team. So
They could
hopefully,
just have her lose an eye.
Thousands of them, by the way.
Yeah, they're hiring more every day. They're multiplying like rabbits.
hopefully they don't
There's
fuck
only
this up.
this is the Bruce Pritchard.
Yeah, it's like remember that thing about enough monkeys in a room with enough typewriters, and one of them will eventually type up Shakespeare. I feel like that's what they're doing. Come on, just keep writing stuff. Eventually it'll work out. So I guess we should since we're talking about the big storylines here, like the main event ones. There are 2 more that I think. Well, there's actually 3, and I don't know if we have enough time. There's the Bailey, Asuka, Sasha triangle thing. There's Drew, Randy, and then the Ric Flair thing that happened.
Oh, so let's go there. Let's talk
Yeah,
about Randy
that
and Rick,
was-
because here's the thing too, right? Orton's so fucking good. Like you felt he. Listen, at the end of the day, Ric Flair did not take a bump. Orton was very careful with the whole deal. The lights coincidentally went out with the pump.
Exactly.
So
That was retribution.
he laid him down gently, like, listen, it was a great segment. That's Randy Orton, it just made you hate him so much. It was perfect in my opinion. It did everything it was supposed to. A lot of people are like, oh my God, it's Ric Flair, blah, blah, blah. Listen, we all said it. When it's just a matter of when, right?
Mm-hmm.
We've been saying it, so this was when. And I thought it was done well. I enjoyed the promo. I thought Ric Flair was awesome, as always. You know, Orton, of course, always, you know. So, to me, that segment was a home run.
Absolutely.
It's again, he's so good that people are going, well, shit, he's doing so well, he's winning this match against Drew.
Yeah, Drew's winning.
For his 14th champion. But
I think
you got to give credit. Drew should win because I feel like
At least the first time around.
yeah. Well, I feel like this is something where if you're going to do a title change for Drew, it should be in front of a crowd and get a reaction. This is a credit to Randy Orton, where he goes through these periods of obviously he doesn't give a shit, and then all of a sudden he's trying. He's trying more in the last few years, but like he's done so well here. Look at what we're saying. Randy Orton is going to beat. We were talking about the possibility that Randy Orton could beat this new guy who's the new champion, the new hit guy, the new top guy until Roman Reigns comes back of the promotion. And this is Randy Orton who's on like the back nine of his career, closer to retirement than he is to not. So that's a credit to how good Randy Orton is right now, because sometimes he just doesn't care, and other times when he really turns it on, that's when you see this is the guy that could have been the John Cena. This is the guy that could have been the Hulk Hogan. He was built, handsome, and tall, and he could wrestle his ass off, and then he just didn't give a shit. He trashed people's hotel rooms and shit in their duffel bags, and it was just lackadaisical and stuff. And now he's putting on the best work of his career. 20 years in, literally 20 years in, he's doing the best work of his career.
Yeah, no, Mark Henry was the same way.
Yeah,
Mark Henry
very
became credible much later in his career.
Yeah, something just finally clicked with Mark Henry too. He turned from somebody that you didn't want to see on your TV at all into somebody you had to pay attention to. So, Randy Orton's
And also, what a renaissance fucking MVP is having now.
Yes, so MVP announced he has signed a multi-year deal.
That's another thing I'm enjoying.
I'm happy for him. I love it.
Yeah, I think that's what they need right now. And MVP, between MVP Shelton and Bobby Lashley, none of these guys have aged in the last 15 years.
Yeah, them and R-Truth are all the same.
But it's just amazing that these guys, they had
There's a
these
whole lot
guys.
of wrestling.
Yeah, but in like 2007, 2008, they were on the roster. And not that they were being overlooked, because MVP had that thing with Matt Hardy. Bobby Lashley was in the thing at WrestleMania with Umaga and Trump. Man, like it was a big, they got pretty big spots. But now, again, these are guys hitting that towards the end of their careers, especially MVP and Shelton. Bobby Lashley's a little bit younger than both of them, but still not young. And they're putting on the best work that they've ever put on. I mean, Shelton always was a great wrestler. He could put on a great match. He had a great match with Shawn Michaels. He had a great match with everyone. But he was never really a top guy. And now this is their opportunity. Literally 13 years after they were considered big names. Because MVP fell off the face of the earth in WWE. They released him. Bobby Lashley, they let him go, and he went to Impact and this place and that place. Now they're back, and they're doing a great job.
Yeah, I'm happy for him. So listen, we have about 15 minutes left. We should definitely touch on Dominic Mysterio.
Yes, that was the other thing I was going to say.
Because they beat the holy hell out of him. The welts are unbelievable. I mean, listen, I know there's like hazing and shit, but holy shit.
That was, and I understand they wanted it to be uncomfortable, but that's just looking at the picture is that's just kind of a step too far. And I'm not saying
They deserve so much credit. God.
here's the
Like
thing,
if
it's
I'm
not
Ray, am I really pissed at WWE right now?
I would be a little bit.
I-
It was just a touch too far for somebody who hasn't wrestled officially their first match yet.
Mm-hmm.
That's too much. Yeah,
That's
when
too much for most, even anyone on the roster. Name one person
they
that
wailed
really
on him. Yeah.
take a kendo stick beating that bad. I don't even think Steve Blackman
No,
pummeled
well, he
somebody
wouldn't.
that bad.
I mean, unless it was one of the nasty boys, he probably wouldn't but yeah, it's one of those things where, like, okay, young guy, when you get in the wrestling business and you're working for an independent promotion or you're training in a wrestling school, you got to get broke in. You put the ring together for the
literally.
show, right? But right, not
Like here, that's sort of the Hogan's
yeah,
regular,
right.
whatever.
Here, and that's something that's kind of an old school thing. Like, you know, you get there a couple hours before a show starts. You have to set the ring up and put the chairs together. After the show, you're there for an hour or two afterward, cleaning up, putting the chairs away, breaking down the ring, loading it back in the ring truck. Sometimes somebody has to drive the ring truck to the next show town or drive it back home. You know, you're putting in your dues that way. You work security, you take tickets, you make change for people, you sell concessions, whatever. Then you kind of work, you know, maybe you work an opening match, or you're a job guy. You're a young person, so you're going to put over the big monster that they're bringing in. Like, you know, when somebody would bring in like a Kamala or a Hacksaw Duggan or whatever, they need somebody safe who can take the bumps, because the legend that they're bringing in is 60, 70 years old and doesn't want to take bumps. So if you're facing Sergeant Slaughter, he's not bumping for you. He's going to hit you with a couple clotheslines and a body slam, and then hit you with the atomic noogie. And call
It's
it
why
a day.
Iron Sheik won the gimmick battle royal.
Yes,
Right.
he couldn't bump.
So, top rope.
So you do stuff like that, and then eventually, like for the point I'm getting to is, there are other ways to pay your dues in the wrestling business, and it's not just getting shit beat out of you with a kendo stick. That is something that, I'll equate it this way. Jazz musicians don't start out as jazz musicians. Everybody starts out learning classical music. When you get really good at it, you can start to expand, and then jazz is more improvisation. When you are like a comedy wrestler like Colt Cabana, or whether you're a hardcore wrestler like Raven or somebody like that, you have to learn the basics of wrestling before moving on to the different forms of it and the different specific nuances of, like, comedy wrestling. You have to be so spot on with your technical wrestling that you can make it funny by changing things around. Hardcore wrestling is the same thing. You have to know the move. If you just go around and swing shit at someone, you can't really get over. That was kind of like, and New Jack could wrestle. New Jack was a technical wrestler, but, you know, when he became a guy that just swung shit at people's heads, he really only had one place to work. You can't work hardcore stuff and just do that and then expect to be like a celebrity or make a living. You can be like, you can do okay, but you have to, when it comes down to it, you have to wrestle. It's not just a weapons thing. And none of those guys took a beating like that. Nobody took it that young at 20-something years old.
Look at Tommy Dreamer and the whole thing with the Sandman beating the crap out of him.
Yeah.
That was tame compared to this.
Well, I mean, but look at those guys were married with children. This is like basically a child that they brought out on TV and beat.
And not only that too, but like you're talking about the dues and working your way up and everything. This kid's may not have been in the ring but
Right.
this kid's been around the business. And we first learned of it as a little boy at SummerSlam.
Yeah.
That was like what, 15 years ago?
And he's not going to say no. Here's the thing.
Of course not.
Even if he didn't want to do it, he wouldn't say no. And I'm not saying he didn't want to do it, because I don't know him personally. But when your dad is a millionaire celebrity professional wrestler who made a lot of money over the years, and you are trying to continue his legacy, and the boss says go out there and get the shit beat out of you with a like, he's hurting today, or whatever day they taped it, the next day was the worst day of his life. If you ever since you saw the bruises, like, he was going to have trouble breathing, he was going to have trouble sleeping, he was going to have trouble putting a shirt on, he was going to have trouble getting around, just existing. It would be like, it looked like, you know, basically going to have bruises, like a big sunburn all over your body from being hit with kendo sticks. So, I don't know. I didn't think it was, it generated the heat that they were trying to generate, but I don't think it was appropriate in the context of, I feel like rather than making people mad enough. Oh, I want to see Seth Rollins get his ass kicked now because of what he did to Dominic. It's it went past that to like, oh, this poor boy. Like, look at this small child. Ray's son is getting this. Like, it was sympathy, but it's just too much. It didn't. I don't want to see Dominic come back and beat Seth Rollins now. I want to see Samoa Joe come out and defend him because Samoa Joe is defending him. Or like Rey Mysterio come back out with an eye patch on and fucking beat Seth Rollins because he was attacking his child. It to me, it just wasn't setting up. I want to see Ray versus Seth, or not Ray versus Seth. I want to see Dominic. And honestly, I don't know if I want to see Dominic versus Seth. That's a fucking hard ass match to put somebody in. Their first wrestling match ever, first wrestling match on television, is live on pay-per-view against a former WWE champion. You're just mounting this pressure against a young guy, and on top of that, you got to go out there and beat the shit out of him. I just don't know what the fuck is wrong with these people sometimes.
Yeah, I mean, like you said, it succeeded in generating the heat and doing what they wanted, but there were other ways to go about doing it, and beating the shit out of him the way they did. Like, listen, you do 4 or 5 kendo stick shots, you know, that's shock value, that's good. I mean, there must have been 30 to 40 kendo stick shots, and a good majority of them landed pretty hard. So
This is like totally taking all those chair shots from The Rock at the Rumble.
Yeah.
Right, yeah, Foley taking the chair. So these things hurt. I have one here.
Oh, that's so cool.
It's actually autographed by Tommy Dreamer, Stevie Richards, and Justin Credible. This is my ECW kendo stick, for lack of a better term.
Oh my god, that is fucking cool.
I want to get more ECW names on it. But here's the thing. Being a jackass, literally and figuratively,
How bad did it hurt?
oh, it stings like a motherfucker. I didn't have one of those guys hit me, but like, you know, when you own a kendo stick and you're in your 20s, somebody's getting hit with a fucking kendo stick. That's just how it is, whether it's you or your friend or whatever. And
Screw that, up 40, I would still do
right,
it.
it doesn't feel pleasant. And here's the other thing. What you got?
Here's another.
Yeah, but so what they do is they take off. So there are these tight things here that go all the way up to this, and the tautness around here makes it hurt more because it's more taut. So they do take these things off, and they make the everything a little bit loose all the way down the shaft, except for this part. They got to, you know, they like keep the tip on and they keep this base on over here, but they take off the stuff that's supposed to make it hurt less. Spoiler alert: it don't matter if you take this off because you're still hitting somebody with reeds of wood. Now that's the problem, is that it's not like a baseball bat. It's separate. These are each a separate piece. So when you get hit, you can get skin caught between the things, and it like pinches. Like, it's not pleasant to get hit.
Isn't there bamboo in there too or something?
Well, this is, yeah, these are.
Right, that's bamboo, right?
Yeah, it's just a long, but imagine like if you get hit with it, and like it gets caught, like your back gets pinched.
No thanks.
Thing, yeah, it's not a good feeling. So, yeah, long
It's
story
the
short,
of wood.
yeah, this poor kid, man. That's really what I'm saying. Is like I don't envy him that he had to, you know, pay his dues, quote unquote, by getting the shit beat out of him.
yeah, there's definitely another way to go about it, but at the end of the day, congratulations on his WWE contract and officially being a part of the roster.
I just
curious to see what
looked.
happens.
We took 47 shots.
There you go,
Holy shit.
47 shots. That's crazy.
Man.
Wow.
And on that note, we are at the top of the hour.
Oh, yes, we are. We didn't even
I
get
just,
to.
really quick, before we go, I just want to say one thing, and that I'd rather see Dominic versus Seth than fucking Pat McAfee versus Adam Cole. I do not want to see that. That better be a fucking 2-second squash match
We
with
didn't
Adam
even
Cole.
get to that. I hate to tell you, I feel like he's going to win, McAfee. Did you see?
That's what I'm afraid of.
He's posting videos on his Twitter of himself, of Pat McAfee, doing up-down drills and stuff, running the ropes. He's doing moonsaults off the top. He's doing swanton bombs. Pat McAfee can jump from the ring to the top turnbuckle and balance and catch himself without touching the other. He jumps straight vertical from the ring to the top turnbuckle. I didn't think he could. I thought because he retired from sports because he couldn't do that shit anymore, and he's in like fantastic shape. But again, I don't want to see the match. I think it's going to be a fucking mess. But don't count out Pat McAfee winning this match because that's.
I find it insufferable. I don't know what it is.
Listen, at the end of the day, the celebrity type that comes in for these matches usually wins. So, you know, Pat McAfee is going to win the match.
And Cole really should just go to fucking AEW at this point.
He should have.
If that's the case.
Yeah. But
if this didn't end in a Cole squash, then I don't know.
I know it shouldn't be a competitive match at all, but it's going to be. Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, we didn't get to NXT. We didn't get to AEW.
Too much going on right now. Well, that was 2 weeks.
Well, we took a week off as well, so we had a lot to catch up on.
This is true.
Yeah. I went and found they were hard to find. The AEW toys are selling out all over the place. I actually found myself a championship belt.
Nice.
Very cool.
That's such a good looking belt too.
It is. Well, here's the thing. I know I have the World Heavyweight, and I've got the IWGP back here, and in my other room I've got the old WWF Stone Cold title. Not the Stone Cold Steve Austin, the one that him and The Rock wore, the Big Eagle one. Not the Winged Eagle, but the Big Eagle. So when I save up my my milk money here, when I have enough savings, one of my dumb expenditures will be the full replica version of this AEW title.
Hey, mine is going to be the Captain America shield. I want that.
Yeah, those are cool looking. They're cheaper than a championship belt, so you can definitely get them. Yeah, that'll do it for today, I guess, right? Yeah, we can't talk about anything else wrestling related for only 2 minutes because that's what the show is about. So we'll finish up for this week, but don't worry, we'll be back next week with another edition of the War Report brought to you by TagMeADate.com. Currently under construction, TagMeADate.com is the first and only dating site exclusively for fans of professional wrestling. Yes, we actually had a couple meet and get married because they met on TagMeADate.com. And the website will be back up when we feel it's appropriate to be back up considering the circumstances of the year 2020, which is absolute dog shit. But anyway, you should follow us on social media at TagMeADate. Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, etc. They're all at TagMeADate. No spaces. It's all one word. TagMeADate. You can go to our YouTube channel. You go to YouTube.com. Type TagMeADate in the search bar, where you'll find our channel page. You can subscribe, hit the bell to get notifications. We're also on Twitch. And if you prefer an audio version instead of the video version of the podcast, you can use your favorite podcast app of choice. We are on Stitcher, Spotify, SoundCloud, Apple Podcasts, and Google Play Podcasts. The username is at TagMeADate, again, as I believe the author or the artist, I forget how they think that's what. Just search at TagMeADate, and you can subscribe to the audio feed. We usually put the audio version out one day later, so when the show is live on Tuesday, that Wednesday, the very next day, you'll get the audio version uploaded. And then you can listen to it in the car or the gym or wherever you want to listen to an audio-only version of the podcast. But we'll be back next week live right here on YouTube, Twitch, and Facebook, etc. We stream every Tuesday, 7 p.m. on Eastern Time. So adjust your clocks accordingly. Catch up with us next week. Again, be sure to follow all of our social medias, and we'll be right back here, 7 p.m. on Eastern Time next Tuesday, for another edition of the War Report brought to you by TagMeADate.com. Thank you so much for listening. We'll see you next week.